We're here with Sean McCoy, analyst at CCS unit at International Energy Agency. How is evolving the regulation in Europe about CCS?
So to date, there's been about a dozen countries that have notified the Commission that they've transcribed their regulations or the CCS laws, their national instruments. And so that's pretty good progress. That isn't everyone. There's 27 member countries, I believe, and so there's quite a few countries that have left to transcribe the European directive. So this means there's still a fair bit of work to be done for a number of countries. The challenge that these countries now face as well is that many of them have transcribed the directive, but they actually need to do a lot of work in terms of developing regulations that'll make it practical to permit projects and actually deploy geologic storage and CCS. So I think that it's progressing, but there's still some challenges ahead for both the countries that have already done the transcription and also for the countries that haven't yet, who will need to do it very shortly.
Which are the main problems that CCS developing is having?
Well, I think that the biggest problem right now, the biggest challenge that projects face is just uncertainty around the future of their funding structures and some of the permitting issues that they face. So, for example, we've seen a lot of projects that have dropped out of various competitions in Europe and around the world, really, because there's just an uncertain incentive for them right now to deploy CCS. And the projects that are proceeding are those which have some sort of commercial back end to them, such as enhanced oil recovery projects in the United States and Canada. And so I think that's one of the biggest uncertainties right now, is that funding part of the puzzle. And as I said, also some of the regulatory issues, certainly in Europe, the projects, again, even in countries that have transcribed the directive, are uncertain about the regulations and exactly how they'll be permitted. So that's a lot of uncertainty for these projects to deal with and to manage.
Which countries will play a key role in developing CCS around the world in the future?
So right now there's several leaders, I think, that are emerging. Certainly in terms of regulation, Australia has had a regulatory framework in place for some time now, certainly at the federal level and also at the Australian states. The United Kingdom has really moved quite far ahead in terms of their regulation as well. And the Canadian province of Alberta has made some great strides in their regulatory picture. And so when you couple that with project development, it certainly looks like Australia has projects on the table. The United Kingdom obviously has a competition in place. It's not clear whether there's going to be anyone left to compete for those funds soon. And Canada has, Alberta specifically, has several projects developing. So it looks to me like, in terms of right now, looking at who's really ahead, Australia and Canada are doing quite well. I think some of the NER 300 projects that come through will also put Europe in a good position as well, in those states that have, member states that have transcribed the directive. In terms of countries that need CCS, there's a lot of developing countries that really will have to make big strides in coming up to speed on CCS if they hope to tackle emissions. China is one of those countries, as well as other Southeast Asia developing economies. So it remains to be seen how that's going to play out and what they're going to do to move CCS forward. But they're certainly taking steps, and it just remains to be seen when they make their moves into large-scale deployment of CCS.